New Zealand First Cabinet Minister Shane Jones has set the cat amongst the public service pigeons with his claims the bureaucracy is too sluggish and it needs to move faster. Mr Jones wants his party to campaign on making changes at the next election, but National says the minister just wants to avoid scrutiny of his decision-making on things like the Regional Development Fund. Here's our Deputy Political Editor, Chris Bramwell.
First it was Air New Zealand, now it's the public service and Shane Jones' sights. Whilst acknowledging he has no control over the state sector, he says in his role as Regional Development Minister he's been astounded at how long it takes for urgent projects to be rolled out in the regions. He blames the bureaucracy and says it needs a political laxative.
There's scope to look for different options as to how I as a politician can be more effective by tweaking the bureaucracy.
Shane Jones wants to pitch ideas for change to the New Zealand First conference later in the year, which he hopes will become party policy. He gives the Australian system as an example.
The Aussie model is nowhere as dramatic as Mr Trump hiring his son-in-law. The Aussie model, where I was last year, enables a small group of CEOs at the apex of the bureaucracy to be replaced after an election.
But the Public Service Association's National Secretary Glynn Barclay says if ministers could appoint their own people, it would be counterproductive.
You just end up getting the advice that you want. And it's really important that with any new policies, particularly substantial policies, that they are open to scrutiny.
National's regional development spokesperson Paul Goldsmith says what Shane Jones classifies as obstructive is simply the public service doing its job.
The bureaucracy asks these impertinent questions like, what are we actually getting for the money? And basic due process. And so what we're seeing is a minister who's keen to shovel $3 billion out the door as quickly as possible for his political purposes and doesn't like to be held back with the niceties of checking out that the people who are receiving the money are actually going to do what they say they're going to do.
Mr Goldsmith, who was a minister in the previous government, says of course bureaucracy can be frustrating, as you always want everything done the day after tomorrow. But he says one of New Zealand's most precious assets is its independent and neutral civil service.
And we don't want to undermine it by ministers who just want to spend large sums of money as quickly as possible with as few restraints as possible. That's what he is suggesting, and over time that would have a very negative impact on New Zealand and the way that we do our politics.
In a statement, the State Services Commissioner Peter Hughes says it isn't appropriate for any public servant, including himself, to engage in public debate with ministers about policy issues. But pushed further by RNZ, he said every public servant gets out of bed in the morning and comes to work, wanting to do the very best they can for New Zealanders. Mr Hughes said he was proud of his public servants and the work they do. Atu i te whare pārimata mō te hōtaka o te ahi pōnei, ko Chris Bramwell ahau.